Hi everyone and welcome back to this channel of crochet, crafting, knitting. My name is Nikki. How are you guys doing? Tis the festive season now, well underway. It's also the season to catch a million colds. So I have been delaying recording as much as possible because I've been under the weather. Just about holding it together now long enough to do this recording, I really hope. So yes, I'm sure lots of people have been getting ill. I'm just thankful that as far as I am aware it's not the dreaded pandemic illness that has been going around. We've been keeping ourselves pretty isolated to keep safe from that. Please keep safe too. Yeah, we've just been trying to get into the festive spirit really. We've been I've been baking, so you know how like when you get celebrations tubs, you've always got those ones left over at the end that no one wants to eat. I've discovered bake them into brownies. Much more enjoyable if you bake those chocolates into brownies. Delicious. So we've been doing that. Yeah, I've got some like little snowman cupcakes planned. So I will hopefully get a picture of that to show you guys in the next video. And then near Christmas, I'm actually going to attempt to make a gingerbread house for the first time. So yes, lots of baking. But also lots of crafting. So I have been wrapping up some of my projects now. I've obviously shown you the Christmas presents that I've been making. I showed you the Christmas socks that I made for myself and my husband. So yeah, I'm just trying to tie up a few loose ends before the new year. I've got a crochet fox toy and a crochet Ron Weasley toy that I haven't finished, so I will hopefully get those done. And of course, the elephant in the room, the Persian Tiles blanket. So I said in a previous video how me and this blanket were on a break. The saga of this blanket was that I looked up the pattern and I found alternative DK acrylic balls to do the blanket with, and I followed the number of balls I would need for the different colours for a 4x4 tile pattern. So there's this sort of tile here, there's 4 of these on each side. But partway through doing this I was like, oh yeah, but I want to make it bigger. But then I realised to make it bigger I'm going to need more of this light blue colour. I didn't have any more of this light blue colour. So thus begins the saga of ordering the brand online at a higher price, I must add, to get the specific brand, only to discover that since I bought the original ball, the dye lot has changed massively. I mean, I don't even know how they can call it the same colour anymore. It's completely different. Then we went to as many wool shops as possible to try and match up to a different brand and didn't find anything. We went online and ordered 3 or 4 different balls to see if any of those matched, and none of them did. So yeah, I now have a lot of blue, and I don't use blue very often, so that's interesting. None of them matches this colour, so I thought, okay, well, I'll make it bigger, and I will not put the colour in the border. So initially, the light blue colour went in the border. So what I had left probably would have done a 4x4 border, but again, if I made it bigger, it wouldn't have done that. So I decided to invest in making more tiles to try and make it as big as possible, hoping to maybe get to like 5x4, hopefully bigger, but not being too optimistic. And I started doing some of the interlocking squares. You can see that I sort of got part where I haven't finished those up. If I just find a square in the blanket, there's this white row with the crosses on it that I haven't done on these squares. I was just trying to use up to the blue because I had plenty of white, I had plenty of navy, I had plenty of dark blue. So there's the dark blue. I had plenty of those colours. I wasn't worried about running out of that. I just wanted to get to the point where I was past the light blue. And I also did a couple of the triangles because as you make it bigger, these go on the outside because you don't have a full square. So I made a few of those. And I started then making the tiles. So got to the point with the blue on 3 of them. You guessed it, yarn chicken, and I lost. But yeah, it wasn't so bad. I was really annoyed because now I've cut this yarn up so I couldn't put it back into the border, and it didn't make that 4th tile that I thought was all I needed to get past to make the blanket bigger. Then I started actually trying to finish the blanket and realised that a bunch of these triangles I hadn't made. So even though I lost yarn chicken on that tile, I couldn't have finished the blanket in a 5x5 because I would have needed more yarn to do more triangles, and I would have got to that point and been like, and not able to finish. So actually it was really good in a way that I did lose yarn chicken, because I went to tidy up what I had already in 4x4 and found that I was missing some pieces. So that's why we ended up with a 4x4. And I do wish it was bigger, but at the same time, when I was knitting, when I was crocheting in the border, I realised that actually it is a nice size. It's not really a blanket you can wrap in, but for like, if you're sat on the sofa and you just need a blanket to be draped over you, it is actually a nice size. So I'm not so sad about it as I was. I do wish it could have been bigger, but these things happen. It was my own fault because I picked a colour that I didn't have a second ball of, and you should always, if you know how much you need, then don't waste yarn. But if you don't know how much you need, it's always kind of better to try and get that extra ball just in case, because even if you're following a pattern, you don't know what your gauge is going to be like. You don't know if you're actually a looser or a tighter crocheter or knitter. So the person doing the pattern has done a particular tension, and they've worked out how much yarn they need based on that tension. And sometimes they have leftover, so your tension, it won't matter too much because you'll still be within those limits. But it's always better to be that little bit safe than sorry. And you can always like make matching pillows or matching cushions when you're making blankets with the leftover. So that's probably what some of these are going to be. So because I've still got these tiles, what I could do is finish it off into an octagon and do like a plain navy background instead of doing the triangles, because I don't think I can be bothered to do the triangles. And just do like a plain navy background and find a pillow, find a cushion that can go inside it. And then I've got a matching set of cushions, up to 3 obviously. A matching set of cushions that can go with this blanket, which would be probably quite nice. So not all is lost. Yeah, I've really enjoyed making this blanket. I've kind of spoken a lot about the saga of this blanket, and I'm looking at the video thinking I'm running out of time already. But I really, when I saw this pattern, I absolutely fell in love with it, because, like I said, for me, the colourway, it just reminds me of red giant stars and white dwarf stars, and I'm an astronomer, so I just saw this and was like, I love it. I absolutely love it. And I thought that looks like a challenge as well. And that was the thing for me, because up until this point I'd been crocheting a lot of granny square things, granny stripes. I'd sort of done what's called the harmony square pattern, which is on Attic 24. And I've done some toys, but really a lot of simple stitches. And I thought I want to do something that like looks more complicated, and I tried like the chevron stitch and the ripple stitch as well, but again they were just simple stitches, and I didn't know what stitches were in this when I first looked at it, and actually nothing complicated was in here. It's just how the designer has put those stitches together, and it has this really incredible effect. And it was fiddly, but I do like it now. I think I've decided that it was worth the effort, at least once, to have it, because, yeah, it was all simple stitches. A beginner could do this. They are just being arranged in a way that makes an octagon tile instead of a typical granny square. And then these joining bits, these joining squares, are granny squares. And the triangles as well. It's just granny square pattern. It's just done in a triangle. So absolutely doable for a beginner looking for something to challenge them that has a bit more impressive oomph about it. when someone sees it. So I have enjoyed it at the end of the day. And I've just done this simple border. I've done a row of the navy in single crochet if you're US terms, double crochet if you are UK terms, a single row of white, and then I've done a row in the middle of half double or half triple stitches in the middle, just to give it that little bit extra width to match the width down here. And then another single row and another single row of white and navy. So I just kept it really simple, just because after everything that happened with the blue, I couldn't be bothered. I wanted to finish it. And this blanket is kind of symbolic for me because it coincided with the final year of my thesis in astronomy. I am so close to the end now. My final draft has been handed in for comments, so pretty much like at the moment it's looking like over Christmas, which is really sad. I'm gonna have to edit those comments and then I can submit it. And for me, I kind of want this blanket to sort of be subtly in the background when I do my Viva as a sort of symbolic finishing of the thesis. But yeah, that was a lot about the Persian Tiles blanket, but it is absolutely beautiful, and I know that I've been promising to talk about it in more detail for a while. Obviously I can't talk about the pattern, but it is really lovely. You can find it online. It's a Persian Tiles blanket. But I just thought I would explain why we were on a break, the saga of the blue, yeah, and the fact that it is now a finished 4x4. So yes, a lot of the things that I've been showing off are in their end stages now, but there is actually something that I have restarted. So I made a red cardigan several months ago now, like back at the start of lockdown, and it was a beautiful pattern, but my gauge was completely off. And the thing was, is the pattern only really had like a small, a large medium, or an extra large, and there wasn't like that in between space of a sort of a small medium, and that meant that I went for the medium because I knew the small wouldn't fit, and then the medium was way too big. So I got really disheartened about it. It was really frumpy, I mean, really baggy. If I can find a photo that I'm willing to put in the video, I will put it in the video now. And if not, I've just got an awkward pause. But it was, I didn't like it, and I said I will redo it, but I'll redo it at some other time because I want to work on different projects first. And I've hit that point. I'm like, you know what, I want to redo it now. It's a nice red jumper. I want to get started on garment making because I just think that I like making blankets, but I just feel like I'm giving away so many of the things I've been making that I want to start making actual clothing for myself. So this cardigan is like the symbolic first step, redoing it so that it's actually going to fit me. So I took the cardigan that I had made and I pinned it into position to see like where it would fit me better. So that meant the arms needed a total overhaul. The length was way too long, and I realised that I'd used the wrong needles to do the collar and the cuffs of the sleeve, so that didn't help either. But I pinned this all up. I worked out how many inches I needed to drop in the pattern, and also worked out that actually the pattern, I don't know why they didn't include a small medium, because the pattern was totally repeatable in a small medium. So you need a certain number of stitches plus one to do that. This is called a textured stitch. But they made it look like you needed like a difference of 16 stitches before you could have the next size up, and that simply wasn't the case. And I just sort of sat there and I thought, why haven't they just done a size in between this? I don't know. So I calculated whereabouts I would want that to be, and I got started, and this is how far I have gotten. I haven't shown this sort of since starting it really, because I haven't had a video to show it in. Just get it the right way around for you to see. Here we go. So it's forming nicely. I do think I took a bit too much off of the main part of the sleeve. So this obviously is going to rest here, and then I'm going to do a cuff. Now the cuff was quite long in the pattern anyway, but I think what I did was I took all of the length off of the main part of the sleeve rather than taking some length off the cuff. So I'm not sure how that's going to look now. It really depends on the collar really, because part of the bit that sits on your shoulder is actually in the collar. So this is also very long. It'll come over to sort of like a few more inches this way and then double back on itself, and that sits on your shoulder too, so that will make the arms drop a bit. So by that point it might be more okay to add the sleeve cuff to that, or I might decide to leave it as like a short sleeved cardigan. I haven't decided yet, but already like I can see how much improved the cuff is for doing the right needle size. It pulls it in rather than splaying it out more. One of the things that made it look baggy was the sleeves being way too big and also way too long, but also the fact that the actual main part of the cardigan didn't close. It flayed out and just looked like you were wearing your parents' clothes as a child. So much happier with the fit actually as well. So I've tried this on. I've sewn the seam down the sides but not the sleeves yet because of how I might want to do the cuff. I might want to open it out and do the cuff flat rather than in the round. Haven't decided yet, but so I haven't sewn it up and limited my options. I wanted to do the collar first because I wanted to see where the arm length dropped down to once the collar was in place, so that I could judge how much cuff I would want to do. So that's where we're at. It fits so much better. I'm falling back in love with this project, and you can just see this gorgeous, I hope you can see this gorgeous texture in the outside. It's actually quite nice on the inside as well, but the outside is definitely the nicer texture of the two. So yes, if I can find the pattern I'm using, it is a free pattern. I will link it in the description box below in case you fancy making this yourself. But I just thought I would show a project that I am working on at the moment. I don't want to show too many of the projects that I have in mind because I want to be able to show you guys something next year in future videos. But definitely we're going to be going on a journey of clothes making, and also I've got a few more toys in mind, but I think what I might do is leave the toys till summer when you don't want to be making big garments, big knitted garments in too hot weather. So that's probably the way around I'll do it. I'll probably start with some garments, move into doing some toys over summer, and then move back into garments for Christmas. I'm quite excited for it. You can probably tell by how long this video is getting. But I do hope that you guys want to join me for that learning process next year, and I still want to see what you guys are doing. Maybe you want to push yourself next year too, so let me know in the comments what you want to do in your crafting for 2021. Wow. 2021. Yeah, let me know, and if you have photos you want to show me, please send the respective links to where they are in social media also down in the comments below, because you know I like to see what you guys are making too. So yeah, that's me for today, because this video is getting really long. And Merry Christmas again, guys, and I will see you in the next video.